Hey guys, how are you all doing? Happy Tuesday, happy Tuesday, as I love to say. I'm here celebrating myself. It has been 5 incredible years since I first moved to Canada as a permanent resident, now citizen. And it's actually mind-boggling. It's like mind-blowing, all the things that I've accomplished in just 5 short years, especially due to the fact that I landed during the COVID pandemic. Like, it's incredible. So welcome, wherever you're joining from across the globe. If we've never met before, my name is Havali Johnson and I'm from beautiful Jamaica. I am a 3 times licensed pharmacist in Canada, which means I've been licensed 4 times in 4 different jurisdictions. In Jamaica, in Alberta, in Ontario, and in British Columbia, Canada. And I'm also CEO and founder of Immigrant, Pharmacist, a coaching and consulting firm that helps international pharmacists just like you permanently relocate to Canada, relicense in record time so that you can relaunch your amazing 6 figures pharmacist career. So let me see you drop in the chat where you're joining from, drop your country's flag or your city. And it's just such an honor and a privilege to just be here with you guys and to be sharing about my journey to Canada. So if you're an international pharmacist, whether you are abroad or you're already in Canada, this story can hold significance for you, because through my story you can find inspiration, or you can also resort to a similar pathway to get to your permanent residence and eventually become a Canadian citizen, and also to get your pharmacist license, pass those PVC exams, relicense in your career, in your profession rather, and ensure that you take your career to the next level. So if you're looking for opportunities to, how many of you are looking for opportunities to elevate in your life, elevate in your career, and achieve significant financial success, then you are in the right place. Welcome. Yes, I see them coming in. Where are you joining from? Yes, Canada, Jamaica, Nigeria, Ghana, Madagascar, amazing. UAE, that's United Arab Emirates, Dubai. India is in the building. Amazing. Canada, of course. So guys, so on this day, exactly 5 years ago today, I landed in Canada as a permanent resident. And I'm going to be sharing a bit about this story. But what is your 5-year story? What is your 5-year plan to ensure that, 5 years from now, you're living the life, the dream, having the career that you want, and living a life by design and not by default? What is it? Let me see you put in the comment, what is it that you aspire for in the next 5 years? Because we tend to overestimate what we can achieve in a year and underestimate what we can achieve in 5 years. So what's the 5-year plan, right? I had no idea that in 5 years I would have had such an incredible journey. I had no idea. In fact, I just thought that I was going to move to Canada and apply to start school to complete my PharmD. If I'm being 100% honest, that was my goal. But Canada had different plans for me, and the dear Lord had different plans for me. And I'm so grateful, because I don't know, like, it's surreal. It's almost completely surreal that I get to live this amazing life, have all these opportunities, and what's possible for me is also possible for you. So I'm not saying anything here to impress you. I'm saying this to impress upon you that there are amazing opportunities for you here in Canada. And in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be hosting a masterclass, the Immigrant to Elevating Canada masterclass, to teach you how you too can obtain your permanent residence, how you can relicense pass those PBC exams using success principles, relicense in record time, and relaunch your amazing career. So stick and stay. I'm just double checking that my Zoom is actually streaming inside my group, because I want to talk to all my people inside the Facebook group who have been, rocking with me for the past, I'd say, couple of months. Actually, it's been about a year now. Oh, this year is gonna be amazing. I can feel it, I can taste it, I can smell it. So what questions do you guys have for me? If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them in a very succinct way. Let's see what's popping inside Facebook group. Oh, amazing. I'm streaming in Facebook. Hey guys. It's so great to see you all. I realize that my Facebook is working. Amazing. This year, 2025 is our year. 2025 is our year to thrive. So let me share a little bit of backstory with you guys. My journey to Canada started long before I landed in Canada. However, 5 years ago today, on February 4th, 2020, I landed in Toronto, Canada as a permanent resident. And just 5 days prior to that, I had gone to Montego Bay, Jamaica, picked up my passport from the visa office, and that was the final step that sealed my fate, confidently sealed my fate to say, yes, you're moving on to the next chapter of your life. So 5 years prior to that, I decided that I was moving to Canada. I just graduated university, completed my internship rather. I was, up until that point, broke. As my coach would say, broke as a joke, ready to choke. I graduated college with 250 Jamaican dollars in my bank account. That's like $2.50 Canadian. And I had a 3 million Jamaican dollar student loan debt, which is equivalent to 30,000 Canadian dollars. But I always knew that my life would change. I wasn't despondent. I was happy to be in the position that I had, because now I had this degree, a Bachelor of Pharmacy degree, and I have this powerful license. And if I knew that if I leveraged it properly, then I would have been able to, I'm looking at like my I'm looking at my phone camera and my Zoom camera. Never mind. I knew that if I leveraged this properly, I would have been able to make the most of this opportunity. I don't know if you've ever seen this anywhere on the internet floating around about the price of a bottle of water. Like, the price of a bottle of water changes based on the environment that it's in. So if you go to Costco, you might get it for a few cents, and if you see it in the store, like the corner store at the gas station, it might be a little more expensive. And if you go into the airport, it's even more expensive. And if you take it into a premium venue, like a luxury event or some club of the sort, the price of the bottle of the water increases. And therefore, I knew that where I decided to practice, where I chose to practice, would determine my financial realities. It would determine my financial realities. So here's what I did. I decided, sometimes we're sitting around thinking, I can't figure this out, or you just need to make a decision. And I made a firm decision that I'm moving to Canada. So when my boss asked me if I wanted to purchase the pharmacy that I was working at, I was like, I'm sorry, no. I'm on my way out. Like, I'm definitely moving to Canada. So 5 years later, here I'm standing as a proud Canadian citizen. Thank you, Canada, for opening up your arms and welcoming me home. I'm proud of this journey. I am proud of my resilience. I'm proud of the incredible life that I have built and I continue to build for myself and my future family. So before I moved to Canada, I had no clue like where I'd stay, who I'd stay with. I just knew that I was going to Canada, and this is a discussion I had with several friends. However, when it was time to put shoulders to the wheel, to put our money where our mouths are, I was the only person on that flight to Toronto to do my exam back in 2016. So this goes to show that if you have diligently, like if you have made a commitment to your future, the only thing that can stand in the way of that is you. You're the only person who could become the obstacle. And a lot of persons fail to realize that we are the obstacle. So we cast blame on the system, we cast blame on the exams. I did a poll recently and I was surprised to know how many pharmacists said that the exam is what's standing in their way. Let me tell you something. If you are truly determined, no exam can stand in your way. The only person that could stand in your way is the Creator. Right? So none of my friends got on the plane, but I'm so grateful that I followed through, and that single action caused the domino effect. I passed the exam, I kept going, and before you know it, 5 years ago I landed in Canada as a permanent resident, even though when I started my process I had no clue. And this goes to show that you don't need to have all of it figured out. I think it was Dr. Martin Luther King who said that. Like, you only need to take the first step. You don't need to know the entire staircase. Even if it's 1,000 steps, even if it's 1,000 steps to the peak of Mount Everest, small steps will get you there, and small tweaks along the journey will take you to the peak. So I'm so glad that I did that. So the story continues, and it gets even more interesting because I knew that Canada was brimming with opportunities. Before I landed, I actually worked on the US side of Niagara Falls, and that was when I learned about the baby boomers. And I went and researched them because I love to read, and I was like, oh my gosh, all these people were born during this time, and now their lifespan and their health span has increased. So now we're going to have an aging population. I knew that Canada was underpopulated, and I was like, this is a great opportunity for me to move to a country where I don't need to go back to school, even though someone had informed me that I needed to go to school to get licensed. If you're on your journey, you do not need to go back to school to get a license in Canada. Let me repeat, if you are on your journey to Canada, you do not need to get a license. Not a license, you need to get a license to practice, but you do not need to get another certificate, a diploma, another bachelor's degree, a master's, nothing to continue your practice here. You just need to ensure that you pass your exams, and then you will meet the provincial requirement. If for any reason someone is unsuccessful in their exams on their first attempt, they might need to go back and do some bridging program, which there are workarounds for the bridging program. You don't need to invest that $15,000-$20,000. When you have guidance, coaching, mentorship, it allows you to relax and have a proper plan in place. But I digress. I'm going back to the story of this being my 5th year being in Canada. I knew that Canada was brimming with opportunities. So what I did was, like many ambitious immigrant professionals who have come before me, I just knew that Canada was my beacon of hope, and it was the land where I could, expand my horizons. I could expand my career. I could work to the highest, like the top of my license. Like, for example, I have a license for the province of Alberta. Alberta has the most advanced pharmacy practice globally, not just in Canada. Like, hey guys, thank you for joining. Alberta has the widest scope of practice globally, and things that we're able to do there, like no other province can yet, like, I think Nova Scotia is caught up by now, but most other provinces couldn't do those, and people across the globe, they were not able to do those things like assess, prescribe, order patient labs. I have a practitioner ID, for example. So these are some of the amazing things that I've accomplished since moving here 5 years ago. And so I knew that I wanted to make an impact in healthcare, but also to build a life that looks and feels good for me, so that I can build wealth for my family and leave a legacy, right? And so when Canada opened its doors to me, like, I was so, and still I'm grateful today. Canada will welcome you as a pharmacist. If you're ready to contribute, if you're ready to grow, if you're ready to elevate in your life and your career and or start a business, that's even better, because without a pharmacist license, like, you can't own a pharmacy. So if not for anything else, at least try to get the license. Even if you don't want to practice later, at least get that license so that you can leverage the license. So as I prepared for my departure from Montego Bay on February 4th, 2020, on my way to the airport, guess what? I found out that my flight had been canceled. My flight was canceled. I didn't know, because I was so ready. I was so prepared. I had everything in order. All the T's were crossed. All the I's were dotted. I'm on my way to the airport. The only thing that I didn't get sorted before I left Jamaica was that I didn't get an opportunity to sell my car before I left. However, it got sold after, right? So I was on my way to the airport, very prepared, only to find out that my flight had been canceled. And I was like a few minutes from the airport. When I say a few minutes, probably about 20 minutes. And I saw another email that said my flight had been reinstated. And this was because that day in question, someone mid-flight, there was a flight that was coming from Toronto to Montego Bay, Jamaica. And I was supposed to get on that flight from Montego Bay back to Toronto. The person on the plane mid-flight said they were infected with COVID. No, this is February 2020. Nobody really knows what this COVID thing is. So the plane had to turn back to Toronto. That's why my flight was canceled. Yeah, that person got arrested and they got charged like a lot of money. But anyway, I'm so glad that my flight was reinstated by WestJet. They secured a much smaller plane. It wasn't as comfortable as the flights I'd gotten on to. I'd been to Canada multiple times before I permanently moved here, and I've traveled with WestJet, and the flights were comfortable. This one, the plane was much smaller. It wasn't as comfortable, but it did what it was supposed to do. It did the job, right? And so it got me here safely, got everybody here safely. And that infamous COVID plane just never landed in Canada. And that was my first brush with what the pandemic would, what it would unfold, like unleash on this world. We didn't know it was going to be a global pandemic. So I moved here in the dead of winter. I came February. I spent 2 weeks in Toronto. And this was just stepping into a whole new world. But for me, it was just a world of possibilities. COVID soon turned everything upside down and wreaked havoc on just everything. But for me, it was still a blessing in disguise. So my move to Canada for me was all about faith. It was a big leap of faith. Most of my family members who migrated from Jamaica are living in the States, including my mother, my sister, nephews, cousin, aunt, grandaunt, uncle, aunt, everybody. Almost my entire family from Jamaica migrated to the US. I chose Canada and Canada chose me. And 5 years later, I'm still here by myself. Just a woman with a big dream, ambition, determination, and an even bigger heart. And so I moved solo, 2,800 plus kilometers from home, landed in Toronto. 2 weeks later, packed my stuff up, and I moved another 2,000 plus kilometers to Edmonton, Alberta, to pursue my relicensing process. So why did I choose to move to Edmonton when Ontario is the most popular province? More than 50% of the population up until the time I got here lived in one single province. I decided to move to Alberta because, you see, I had failed my MCQ exam, which at the time I was like, something's wrong with this exam, not recognizing that I was the obstacle, right? So I failed my MCQ. I self-prepared, passed the EE first attempt. I was in the top 25 percentile. That got to my head. Did my OSCE and MCQ at the same time. Self-prepared again, passed the OSCE and first attempt, failed the MCQ. So because I'd failed the MCQ, not once, but twice, I said, like, this year is my pivot year. I'm not about to do an expensive bridging program at the University of Toronto. I'm going to Alberta. I'm going to skip the bridging program. But also one of the reasons I went to Alberta was I moved to Canada by myself, not remembering that I had relatives. Like, I have some distant cousins, 2 of them, they lived in Edmonton. They offered accommodation. So I took up the opportunity, and it was more than a blessing because at the time we weren't yet in lockdown. So I'm like, no bridging. If you're thinking about doing the bridging program, I mean, I digress. I'm not going to state my opinion about the bridging program. This is about my 5-year journey. I never did the bridging. I don't recommend for persons to do the bridging unless they 100% have to. But that's a story for another time. So having packed 30.5 years in 2 suitcases, I had courage in one hand and I have ambition in the other. And my mission was clear. I just came to Canada to get that license. It wasn't about to be any sort of struggle. And if I wanted to pursue my PharmD, then now that I'm a permanent resident, I would pay only a fraction of what international students paid. Again, if you're moving to Canada and you're thinking of moving as a student, be smart, be strategic, because it's more expensive to come as a student than as a PR. First things first, the tuition for a student could cover your PR and your relicensing process, and you get to keep that money. There's a principle called the easy hard principle, which means that whoever is going for the easiest thing, they're gonna have it hard on the back end, and those who face the hard things first, they will have it easier much later, right? And so many international pharmacists choose to move to Canada as student because they think this is the easiest way to get in. Remember that the easiest way is also the most expensive way, and a lot of those students are facing hardship, restrictions in terms of how many hours they can work. They have no access to government funding, benefits, etc., 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 right? I see your question about MCQ and OSCE, and I'm going to answer you shortly. Okay, so because of that, I'm like, I'm gonna do all of these things. Oh, where's my paper? Give me a sec, guys. So back to where I was like 5 years later since I started this, PR journey, and now I'm a Canadian citizen. I have my passport. I can travel to 188 countries without any visa restrictions. Which is something I couldn't do with my Jamaican passport. In fact, I renewed my US visa about a year and a half ago. No, I don't even need it, right? 5 years later, I still have the determination. I have a burning desire. And this opportunity of moving to Canada has led me to relicense, not just in one province, but to date, I hold 3 licenses. One for Ontario, one for Alberta, and one for British Columbia. And I've also started my own coaching business, which allows me more freedom and flexibility, and also how I practice. As a travel pharmacist, I get to travel to remote, underserved areas, getting employers to pay for accommodation, my transportation, and get paid for lucrative offers. I've also been helping many of my international pharmacist colleagues build their 6 figures career. Like, the traditional way of doing things is like through the window. A lot of us are still stuck in that, but I want you to know that it's possible for you to design the career you want and design the life that you want. You can live a life by design and not by default. You don't have to You don't have to, I was going to say succumb, but that sounds like an injury. You don't have to stick to the status quo. And that's why I host these master classes, so that I can teach you things that you haven't yet learned nor mastered. So when you come to Canada, you are prepared, right? Knowing that you have many options, many opportunities. And since being here, I've met so many international pharmacists who are stuck in their careers. They get caught in the I call it like a vortex. It's like they've been sucked in, and they are stuck earning minimum wage or a little above minimum wage. And the fact is that life in Canada is super expensive. Like, there's no going around it. Life in Canada is expensive. So if you're not prepared financially, if you're not prepared emotionally, if you don't have physical support, like a structure of support, you don't have mentorship, coaching, it could make your journey that much harder, right? So many doors of opportunity has opened to me, like speaking opportunities. I've spoken on stages in Canada, in Toronto, in Houston, Texas, in Jamaica, hosting virtual and in-person events, networking, being on podcasts as a guest. I just want you to know, guys, that this journey, it wasn't easy, but bless God, it was, and it still is certainly worth it. Because just know that an indecision is still a decision. Choosing to stay stuck is not the way to go. So many persons have reached out like, but I want to do this, but I failed the exam multiple times. I met an IPG last week through a speed mentorship I did in collaboration with Canadian Pharmacist Association, and they were on their 4th attempt for the EE. This is not MCQ, this is not OSCE. They're on their 4th EE attempt, and we know that PBC only gives 4 lifetime attempts for this exam. So if you don't nail it to the cross on your 4th attempt, there's no way you'll be able to practice as a pharmacist here ever, right? So I know with the right strategy, the right support, the right mentorship, and having resilience, grit, determination, if I can do it, you too can build a thriving 6-figure pharmacist career here, right? So if you're ready to take that next step, feel free to reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to talk to you guys. I'm going to be sharing more about the masterclass that I'll be hosting in the next 2 weeks. And like, this has been a part of my success story and my journey. And I wish everyone on their journeys the very best. That was just a part of the story. There are in-betweens. You just need to know, like, be clear on where you are. Be very clear on where you want to go. And the how will take care of itself, right? It's not going to be a straight line, but as Rumi said, when leaving home, never take advice from someone. Like, when setting out on a new journey, rather, he said, never take advice from someone who has never left home. Like, if you want to do something, do something, find someone who has already mastered that thing and done it, and have done it successfully, so that they can illuminate that pathway for you. They can guide you and support you. And do not be afraid of investing in yourself, because life has a way of making people pay so that they can pay attention to the things that are around them that's there, like the people, the circumstances, the events that are already there to support your journey. Don't be scared to lean into that, because so many of us are programmed to invest in school. Beyond a certain point, investing in further education, like a certification, getting CDE and all these accolades behind your name, beyond a certain point, that does not transfer to income earning potential. So you just have to be strategic and use your discernment, right? So I have a question here. Hi, Shantia, how are you? I have a question here from Sunshine, and Sunshine's asking if I recommend writing the MCQ and OSCE. For those of you who don't know what OSCE is, it's the Objective Structural Clinical Exam, which is the clinical component of the pharmacist qualifying exam in Canada. Do I recommend doing those two together? And the answer, Sunshine, would be it depends. There is no right or wrong way to approach these exams. If I remember correctly, Human, who is the CEO of Pharmacist, Human said they do recommend that persons do both the MCQ and the OSCE together, because it's the same amount of energy that you have to spend preparing for both, and they are complementary. That's it. Both exams are complementary. But here's the thing. Choosing to do the MCQ and OSCE together would depend on your level of readiness, your level of preparedness. How willing are you to invest the time, the energy, and the money into getting through both exams at the same time? It is 100% possible. And you have to know yourself, and you have to be honest with yourself. Some persons are better off doing one than the other. Most IPGs, unfortunately, fail the exams. The pass rate, the success rate for the qualifying exam is like 43%, unfortunately. For the EE, that has fallen significantly to 36%, which is unfortunate, because I know every pharmacist who has gone through the rigors of the bachelor's or the doctoral program, they have the intellectual capacity, the capability to pass these exams, right? Even though the exam is a PharmD level exam, it's quite clinical. It's just knowing how to clinically apply the knowledge, and knowing that the exam is based on Canadian guidelines and the Canadian experience, as I call it, right? So there's no right way. I would suggest that you get like a proper or thorough assessment done. You could book a call with me, or you could find a coach who you're comfortable with and let them help you figure out your best way forward. I do this entire mapping for my clients, like what approach they should be taking towards their exam. If I know more intimate details, that's how I can provide like individualized feedback. But generally speaking, it depends on you as a person and how prepared you are and what things are vying for your attention. If you're a mom of 3 and you have a husband and you have parents taking care of and you have a business managing, and it's no excuses, because one of the persons who had booked a call with me back in 2022 has been licensed in Canada for the past year, right? So when we're talking about 2022, we're talking about summer 2022. So within a year and a half, they've completed everything, landed in Canada, went straight into practice, passed those exams on first attempt. And she was also a devoted wife, a mom for a teen, managing a pharmacy, completing a doctoral degree, and studying for the PBC. So really, there is no excuse, except that everybody has a different reality. Everybody has a different structure of support, right? If you're going to be in a position where your mental bandwidth is depleted, I don't know how well you can carry both exams. But you're basically studying the same material for both exams. It's just that the approach is different, because the OSCE is very, very clinical, right? So that would be my answer. I know it's very long, it's convoluted. Long and short of it is, you have to trust yourself, or you have to consult with a specialist or someone who is an expert in that area to determine what is the best way forward for you. Because honestly, these exams, it's never a one size fits all. The same approach doesn't work for everyone. I did both of them the first time. Could I have passed both exams on first attempt? Absolutely. Here's my downfall. I wasn't taking proper advice. I would advise to complete a prep course. I told myself this story. I'm like, I'm super smarty pants, which I am. I'm brilliant, which I am. But I didn't live in Canada. I wasn't practicing in Canada. I wasn't accustomed to the Canadian guidelines. I knew nothing about their management system. I knew nothing about opioids and narcotics, because that's not something that's prevalent in Jamaica, right? I'd never seen most of those ADHD meds and narcotics and stuff until I moved to Canada. So the point I'm making is that it depends on you, how you learn. I'm an audiovisual learner, and I remember things from like I learned live. I remember things from first year pharmacy school. Actually, I remember things from 3 years old, but I can remember vividly like lessons taught. And during the pandemic, I also was not working. I wasn't like hustling to get the next pharmacy assistant job. I was super, super relaxed. I didn't have to worry about where my bills was gonna come from because my cousins had offered me accommodation for a year. So those things you have to take into consideration, right? So I hope this helps. Thank you for your question. Yes, I wanted to share that with you guys, and I just want to say that I'm so thankful for, you know, all the support that I've received from my family, my friends, my fans. Should I call them my fans? No, my followers on social media, all the persons, you know, in the business arena, persons who have connected with me, those who are wishing me well. So grateful. And I'm most of all, I'm grateful to God for the opportunities that He's given me. And I'll just preface and say that even though I've achieved so many things since moving to Canada, I wrote a list. I know the list is not comprehensive. Where did I put my list? Give me 1 second. I think I put my list inside here. Yes, I did. I did. See, I got breaking transmission. I wrote a list of some things that I've accomplished, and I was like, oh my gosh. Happily, you did good, girl, despite everything. Since moving to Canada, here are some of the things that I've accomplished. But my best accomplishment to date was giving my life to the Lord, and I got my certificate here. I need to frame these. I'm not. So I got my certificate of baptism. Why? Ignore for today. This always happens. This is like my pharmacist license from Alberta. I had it in the thing. I took it out. This is for Ontario, and I haven't collected the one from BC yet. But in any case, that is the top accomplishment for me, was just surrendering and knowing that it is a power that is higher than me that brought me here. And I never imagined when I graduated pharmacy school that my life would be this awesome and amazing, and I get to travel all over the place. Like growing up, that was not in the cards. I believe, but it wasn't in the cards, right? So since moving here, I completed my relicensing process. So I passed my MCQ exam, which I had failed. I completed my internship in Alberta, and then I got licensed there. I also got licensed in Ontario. I got licensed in BC. I was nominated and I got an award, the William Osler Award for Excellence in Mentorship last year from Oneness Education Foundation at their IEHP Summit in Toronto. I've attended numerous conferences. I've gone to conferences in Calgary, Niagara Falls. I've been to workshops in Houston, in Jamaica. I have spoken on virtual stages. I've spoken on live stages. I've been awarded on live stages. I've impacted many pharmacists and other immigrant professionals, and I have tons and tons of like emails and messages, and that's one of the things that I'm most proud of, because I am clear on my purpose, which is to empower, inspire, and also to educate others, right? So that they can elevate in their lives, their careers, and their finances. Let's never forget the finance part, right? I founded Immigrant Pharmacist. This is something I'm passionate about. I've been mentoring my colleagues since 2015. Remember I told you there were supposed to be 5 of us on that plane to Toronto, and I was the only person there, but I was like coaching and mentoring those ones, telling them what resources to get, let's go. I'm always that person. And then I came across a testimonial from a pharmacist in the Cayman Islands who sent it to me in 2019. And I'm like, you've been doing this thing for a while, girl, but I never officially I didn't officially start Immigrant Pharmacist until April 2022, right? So impacted pharmacists in Canada, those across the globe. I've partnered with several entities, including an immigration law firm here in Toronto, to obtain permanent residence for my pharmacist clients, which is a part of our signature program. I have also founded Immigrant Pharmacists, not Immigrant Pharmacists, Travel Pharmacists, and Millionaire Pharmacists, because I'm on a mission to help as many pharmacists as possible. Right now my goal is 1,000. I want to help 1,000 pharmacists earn $1 million in 4 to 5 years, because I know it's 100% possible after receiving a $250,000 per year job offer from a recruiter. The 100,000 they're giving pharmacists is not cutting it, right? Life in Canada is expensive, so let's be frank. I've negotiated multiple lucrative travel contracts. I've had the opportunity to travel 12 months in 2023. I've traveled 9 of the 12 months in 2024. I've visited 6 countries outside of Canada. That's not true. Oh yeah, since I've got here, I've actually visited 6 of the 10 provinces here in Canada. And in terms of countries, including my home country, Jamaica, I've been to France, Switzerland, Greece, Italy. I've been to Jamaica 6 times, and I've traveled to the US 12 times since I landed 5 years ago. It's something that I'm very proud of. And last year, of course, if you've been following me for a while, you will have known that I got my Canadian citizenship. So now I have my powerful passport that gives me visa-free access to 188 countries. And of course, I survived the pandemic. There were some turbulent times in between the 5 years that I got here and today, but God is faithful, and there have been more upsides than downs. And don't be fooled. Like, when you see people showing up on the internet, don't be impressed by everything that you see, the photo ops, the pictures. Just know that in between the appointment, like my mentor would say, there is disappointment. Wherever you are, wherever you're appointed to be, between here and the appointment, there will be some disappointment. But it will help to strengthen you, it will help to build your character, and disruption truly follows intention. If you want your life to just be where it is or to get worse, all you have to do is do nothing and stay in inertia. If you're, I think I'm talking to a science student, but if you're not a science student, you don't know what inertia is. This is a state of stagnancy, just not doing anything, right? If you keep moving, you're inevitably gonna have roadblocks. You're inevitably gonna stumble and fall. Who's going to be there to pick you up, to brush off your bruises, to redirect you, to encourage you, to empower you, to inspire you? Somebody who's going to illuminate that pathway for you and help you to course correct. You need to have one of those persons, or multiple people, or a community that's focused on the goal that you're trying to achieve, right? So that's why I recommend for persons to join us inside Immigrant Pharmacist community, so that we can help you to succeed on your journey to becoming a fully licensed pharmacist in Canada with earning potential of 6 figures and multiple 6 figures. So this is where story time ends. I'll come with more story times for this month. I just want to say thank you guys so much for rocking with me. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for, asking your questions, for sharing this journey with me. You've been there through the ups and the downs, mostly ups, and I'm thankful. I am beyond thankful, and I sincerely mean that. So this week I have some exciting things coming up. Like, I will be I'll be at actually not a conference. I went to the conference in October, but I'll be going to a networking event in Toronto this week, and then I will be traveling soon. And I'm gonna be sharing more about those. I'm trying not to like share too much of all this stuff. Like, I don't want you guys to be overwhelmed with me always traveling, which I'm always traveling. If you've been following me, I want you guys to focus on getting to your next goal and do it faster and not slower, because today is the cheapest our life will ever be, right? Is anybody in agreement with me? Like, today is the cheapest life will ever be. And so for those persons who've been procrastinating and you're sitting on the fence, I encourage you to get off the fence, because the fence is painful. It's the worst place that you could get stuck, is on the fence, being on the sidelines of your lives and your career, and seeing other people taking action, imperfect action, and over time their action compound and they're having amazing results, and you're just sitting there or dragging your feet, and things are changing. Immigration policies are changing. You guys have seen that we're about to have an election soon and have a new leadership, and the current administration is pro-immigration. They started express entry 10 years ago. Things are about to shift right now. So if you're interested in connecting with me, the link is in my profile bio. Like, you can click the bio. It will take you to my stand store where you can book an appointment, or you can go on my blink tree where you can see like how to subscribe to our newsletter. You can listen to podcast interviews that I've done. You can join our Facebook group. You can register for the upcoming masterclass, even though I haven't updated that and shared the information. Masterclass, by the way, will be on Saturday, February 15th. Wow, that's a week and a half away. I'm going to be hosting the masterclass on the 15th. That's after I get back from my trip. And I'm going to be sharing some exciting updates with you guys. So yeah, how you can join is an appointment, a consultation. Do it before you feel ready, because by the time you think you're ready, it's already too late. That's one of the biggest mistakes a lot of persons make. Like, I'm waiting until I'm ready. Ready is not a feeling. Ready is a decision, right? Ready, let me repeat, ready is not a feeling. Ready is a decision. If you feel ready, that's what I've learned in business and in coaching. If you feel like you're waiting until everything is perfect, all, you know, the ducks are in a row, everything is perfectly aligned, then it's already too late. Because as, oh my God, what's the guy said? He said, what his name? Scully. John, I think it's John Scully. He says that the future belongs to those who can spot the opportunities long before they become obvious. If you wait until everything is obvious, it's no longer an opportunity, right? And I always make this quote by Leonardo Ravenhill, and he says, the opportunity of a lifetime must be seized during the lifetime of the opportunity. Let me repeat, the opportunity of a lifetime must be seized during the lifetime of the opportunity. So many persons are sitting by waiting and watching opportunities go by, and they say, oh, there will be another one and another one. The truth is that the opportunity that has passed you by will never ever be the same as the one that's coming in the future. So the sooner you get started, the better. One of those young ladies, actually from the group of 5 that was supposed to come to Canada in 2016 for the first exam, up until last year May, I was the only person still registered in Canada. One of my friends finally got licensed, so now there are 2 of us from the 5. And 10 years later, one of those persons still show up at masterclass, still join lives, and I recently got a message saying like, it's not clear, you know, what materials there are for the exam. And I'm like, that is a story. Everything is a story. So we have to start telling ourselves some better stories. If you want quality results, you have to start asking quality questions. And saying like the material or the resources are not there, that's not true. Because in fact, one of the books that I recommended back in 2016 that she bought from the lady who's now registered, is one of the it's one of the primary texts that's recommended by the PVC. However, I do not recommend for persons to go and pull 20 different books and study from them. Get yourself in a focus group, get yourself in a prep course, a prep program. As I said before, I self-prepared for 3 exams, and when I failed my MCQ, I got into a prep program. There are several of them. I think I wrote them down recently. You have to do a little bit of research and some due diligence to figure out which one is most appropriate for you based on your style of learning. I did Pharmacist because I'm an audiovisual learner, and the way they teach is how I receive information. So my brain gets fertile and receptive, and I can like literally, somebody say I have photographic memory. I don't know about that, but I can literally recall the stuff they taught in the program. And that was 5 years ago. There is Pharma Spirit, Pharma Gateway, Pharmacy Prep Mitzvah. They have some Elite something. There is SolarX. There is Pharma ePass. There are so many prep courses floating around on the internet. Find the one that works for you. One of my colleagues who is a manager in North Alberta, his wife did Pharmacy for the DE, for example. She thought it was overwhelming. It was an overwhelming amount of information. So for her MCQ, she chose to do another course. And she passed both on first attempt, which is great. There are other persons who choose Pharmacy for both the MCQ and they pass with flying colors. And then there are a few people who still take Pharmacy and they didn't, successfully pass the exam. So it's not a one size fits all. It's a matter of what's comfortable for you, what's your pace, what's your style of learning. That would be my recommendation for you guys. So you need to get inside a focus group, get inside a community that can support you along this journey. Find a coach and or a mentor who can provide you feedback in real time. Someone who is preferably a licensed pharmacist in Canada who is in active practice and can break down certain concepts for you. It's one thing studying and getting theory, it's didactic. It's another thing practically applying that. And that's what could help you in your OSCE. Speaking of OSCE, I have an OSCE template. Like, as I told you guys, I self-prepared for OSCE and I passed my OSCE at first attempt. And Human is the owner of a pharmacy, right? Human said to me the other day, he was like, that is so impressive. I didn't feel like it was anything impressive, but the fact is that I had a template that I used to assess the patients in the OSCE. Because once you have this, you can just reel it out in real time and you can get ask pertinent questions, get the information that you need so you can solve the patient problem within 2 minutes that you get inside that. So I'm going to be putting that in my Stash store. You guys can get a virtual download, practice from it. I tell you, it works like a charm. And even practicing in Alberta where you are required to do clinicals, care plans, it really helped because I could literally stand at the counter and in a few minutes get all of this information from the patient so that I could do a care plan for them. So if you guys are interested in that, I'm going to put it in my Stand store. You can go and click it, download it, and use it. It really works like a charm. So yeah, wanted to share my 5-year story. Today marks exactly 5 years since I packed 30 years in 2 suitcases, ambition in one hand, determination in the other, and I moved to Canada, and it has been nothing short of incredible. So if you too are on your journey, you may be facing hurdles, obstacles, worries, stress, anxiety. What I learned recently is when persons say like, I'm feeling anxious, it's because you're trying to control an outcome that's outside of your control. Like, you can't control everything. You can only control your response to circumstances and your level of preparation for the exam. I love the adage, proper prior preparation prevents poor performance. For the people who say I'm nervous, you're not really nervous, you're just unfortunately not prepared or under prepared. or it's a story that you're telling yourself that I don't feel prepared. And facts are different from feelings and thoughts, right? So you have to get your facts right, and also manage your expectations. Manage your expectations. I have so much more that I could share with you guys, but I'm going to reserve it for another time. I'm actually going to join my service online. Thank you guys for joining. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot them in my DM. I may get back to you whenever I can, because I have gotten so many messages and emails, and that really and truly is not the best use of my time. But if you have burning questions and you're looking for clarity, you would like a personalized roadmap for your journey, feel free to click the link in my bio, book a consultation, and let's get you succeeding and soaring to 6 figures income as a pharmacist. But first, you must pass your PBC exams. There's no going around it, unless of course you're from a country like US, UK, Ireland, New Zealand, and Australia. Those persons get an exemption from the PBC exams. And for those persons who were licensed in France, I do believe they get an exemption in the province of Quebec. So yeah, but beside those big 5 countries, everybody else has to go through the PBC exam process. And let me tell you guys, it's not easy, but it is 100% doable. It's 100% possible. I sit here as a physical manifestation of what you aspire for, which is to be a licensed pharmacist in Canada. And the first license, getting the first license may be challenging. After that, it's smooth sailing. It's easier. Life gets easier. Life gets better. I just feel so grateful. I feel that you guys will not. I don't know how to explain it. Yeah, I'm just gonna leave it at that. So thank you guys for joining. I hope that wherever you are, your journey will be fruitful for you and your family. Moving to Canada is not necessarily about the license. It's about the options and the opportunities that you get to practice at your widest scope. Business opportunities. It's about building wealth. It's about creating, leaving a legacy. It's more than just like moving to a foreign land, right? So thank you guys so much for joining, and I'll see you guys in the next video, right? Oh, thank you, God.